Welcome to something to talk about. Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I'm here to do one of my what ifs again, right? So this is what if Renly defeated Stannis and took the Iron Throne and actually became king and made a small council. I'll explain all that if you've never been here before. Don't worry. Quick disclaimer before I go forward. Well, spoilers, I guess. I never say spoilers. I just kind of assume everyone knows the books, but not everybody does know the books. So this is, I don't know, a blanket spoiler for the books, specifically the first two, because, because Renly doesn't make the second book. The other disclaimer is, I do have a sore throat. I'm a little sick today. Woke up a little sick. So I will not be doing my trademark yelling too much, which is probably a good thing. I don't really get a lot of comments like, hey, dude, I love it when you yell in my ear. I do, though. I do that a lot. All right, Renly Baratheon. Let's go. So this is if he beats Stannis and takes the throne. So let's get into the scenario. So I will be making what if videos in the vein of small councils. This stemmed from a comment on my Daemon Blackfyre Kingsguard vid asking for a small council for him. This has stemmed into me thinking of other would-be kings. I will only pull from existing lore, and I will not make any characters up from scratch. This is based on the lore, and it's all just my opinion, so if you disagree, feel free to tell me, as long as you're respectful, so on and so forth, and I'll try to be respectful too. Please tell me your small council in the comments. None of this is in stone. This is just me. So my opinion of what Renly's small council would be is just as valid as yours, right? Neither me or you or George. And if you are George, what are you doing watching my stuff? That's weird. Hey, George. All right. George isn't watching. Oh, man. I skipped ahead. So let's talk about the split in the timeline. So this was really hard for me to find a split because I just don't know how Renly prevents the Shadow Assassin from killing him. And I don't see him surviving the Shadow Assassin. I thought really hard and I went over that chapter. I listened to it twice. And my only thought would be Renly listening to Mathis Rowan and Randall Tarley and attacking in the middle of the night instead of waiting till the morning. So instead of getting his armor on when the shadow spell is cast, he was already attacking Stannis. His army was a much bigger, plus Courtney Penrose could attack from Storm's End at the same time, crushing Stannis in a cool little pincer move, kind of like Tyros Blackwood does at one point. And the remainder of Stormlords will then kneel to Renly at Storm's End, and then he takes his huge army to King's Landing, breaking the gates, sacking the city, and then when Tywin shows up, Renly would have Tywin's legacy as hostages, and he would force Tywin to kneel. How likely is that? We'll see. But it kind of had to, Renly Baratheon was really highly requested for me to cover, and it was really hard for me to find a spot. But I have a little legitimacy here. Melisandre did get a vision of Renly winning the castle at one point before she casts the Shadow Baby spell and gets rid of Renly. So Renly was fated the win at one point. So it's not weird if he actually does. The only thing was, I don't see him. I was thinking maybe he doesn't have the parlay and he attacks early. I don't see that. He's also really honor-bound, and it's actually his honor that prevents him from attacking early in the main timeline. And then I was like, what if he kills Stannis during the parlay? I think that's way too dishonorable for Renly. So the best I could think is he left 30 minutes too early. Now there's Rowan, and they're like, dude, the army's ready. Let's go. And then he goes, I'm going to hang out, slowly put my armor on. We'll attack in the morning. If they showed up, and he's like, okay, I'll toss my armor on faster. I'm not going to talk to Catelyn. I'm not even going to talk to you guys. Let's just go. And then the Shadow Assassin shows up. Where is he? and he's on the way. So if that's a little flimsy, yeah, it is. Like, I agree, but that's the hoop I had to jump through to make this work. Now let's talk about our king and our small council. Renly Baratheon, King Renly Baratheon. Renly seems like he would have, it would be a very smart and honorable king, except for the time he attacked early, that one time. He is loved by many, and with the strength of the Reach and Stormlands behind him, he would be pretty dang strong. He would need to keep Cersei and, I said Joffrey alive as hostages to keep Tywin in check. He would also need to either crush Robb Stark or find a way to ally him. As I'm reading this, I do think that he probably would have executed Joffrey at least, but I think he would have still kept Tommen and Cersei as hostages. Yeah. Either way, I don't know if that would fully keep Tywin in check, but in this timeline it does. He would also need to either crush Robb Stark or find a way to ally him. He would keep Catelyn Stark because he literally tells Catelyn, "You're not going to leave anymore. You are my guest." She's like, he doesn't let her leave. He dies and she escapes. But in their last conversation, she's like, "I'm going to go back to Robb," and he goes, "You're not." So Catelyn doesn't get kept as a hostage, or would in this timeline, because he doesn't die right after saying that. He would then get Sansa after taking King's Landing. This is very good leverage. Like Renly said, that Robb could keep his title, but he would still have to kneel to Renly as his overlord. I think in order to get his family back, Robb would bend the knee. But that's beyond the scope here, and if you disagree, you disagree, and let's say he goes to war with the North too. All right. But I don't see him letting Sansa and Catelyn get killed. I also see him angering all of the Northern Lords if he either gives up his crown or kneels. But that's a hard decision that he has to face, and also not important for the small council. It's beyond our scope. I'll let you guys debate that, and I'll let future of this timeline handle it. I don't know how it would go out, but I don't need to solve that in order to talk about the small council. Okay, so where was I? It's beyond the scope here. It's time to put the small council together. But first, his heir. I think legitimizing Edric Storm and naming him Prince of Dragonstone would kind of be awesome, right? At least until Renly gets a kid of his own. And even if Renly gets a son, Edric would still be named Lord of Storm's End. If Renly gets a son with Marjorie Tyrell, he can then make that kid Prince of Dragonstone. But as of now, Edric Baratheon could get legitimized, and I actually really love this. And I think using him as the symbol of Robert, kind of like what Stannis kind of knew he was, because he looked just like Robert, he would also really need Edric to cast down all doubts, because in order to take the throne and hold it, he would have to paint Tyrion, Joffrey, and Tommen and Myrcella as non-Baratheons, as bastards, because they would be his heirs then, right? So naming Edric, saying this is the true son of Robert, and Joffrey and Tommen are not. Look at how he looks. Look at how they look. And he's going to now be Edric Baratheon and the Prince of Dragonstone, at least until a new heir comes. But I think that's kind of fire, and I love it a lot. Okay, so moving on to Hand of the King. This one's not a surprise because he does name his hand before the fight, right? Before the attack on Storm's End. So the Hand of the King, Maester Tyrell. No surprises here. We already know that he did this before he crushed Stannis in this timeline. Say what you want. He is smarter than he comes off. I'm not going to say I fully subscribe to genius Mance, like Mance is a genius. I don't think he's a dumb oaf, though. I think that Mance. Why do I keep saying Mace? Mance. I don't think that Mace is a 40 chess genius, But I think that he knows that people think he's an oath and that he plays off that. And he's like, oh, me, I'm just an oath. I think he's definitely smarter than he comes off. Look at how well he has played everything. Like, he's out arguably one of the most powerful people, if not the most powerful person in the realm, with like Tywin gone at like, yeah, he like pretty much is taking over, and he's done it almost bloodless on his side. Like, so I think you would actually make a really good hand. And you could disagree and think he's an oaf if you want, but I definitely think he's smarter than he comes off. Again, I don't think he's a genius, but all right. Yeah, he's smarter than he comes off, and this keeps the Baratheon Tyrell alliance strong. And yeah, this is a no-brainer. All right, we can move on. Let's do one that I never know how to go with, and that's going to be the Grand Maester, because I don't know who the Citadel will pick. They would probably pick a name I never heard of before, but I do think Pycelle is out. So I went with Lumis. Grand Maester Lumis or Lumis, whichever one you want to go with, and then I kept a maybe there. This is always hard to pick. I don't see Renly being okay with Pycelle. He has spent years with him in the Small Council, and he knows he can't be trusted. He knows that he's just a Tywin stan, essentially. I'm going to say Lumis. Lumis is old and trusted Maester from Highgarden, and he might be picked as Grand Maester if the Citadel is pressed by the Crown. Or maybe they just pick a random one. That doesn't really mean much, right? Okay, so here's one that when I was writing, I didn't have a Master of Whispers when I started to write it. And then I typed none in like I have for other stuff, and then I thought about it. So literally at the last second, I decided to keep Varys. Hear me out, or Varys. Hear me out. I know that this is kind of a surprise, but he did serve alongside Renly on Robb's council, just like Pycelle. And unlike Pycelle, Varys is actually really useful. And he does know how useful he is, and his little birds are. He's probably one of the best Master of Whispers of all time, if not the best. And there really is no other pick. It's either no Master of Whispers or spare Varys. Varys had no love for the Lannisters. I could see him easily choosing or changing sides. He doesn't care, and playing this situation and using it to the fullest. He's just playing his own game. Like, he's going to keep playing his own game in the background. He doesn't care if Joffrey's in charge or Renly's in charge. He might have to get rid of Renly if Renly does too good of a job, but his long con is John Con. I didn't have that plan. That's hilarious. And Young Griff, right? Young Griff is his long con with John Con. And so he doesn't give a crap. He would go, oh, I always wanted you. And, and that's it. And I think either Renly can go, dude, I've never trusted you. You're creepy, and get out. Or he could go, you are super useful. So, yeah. If you guys think that Varys wouldn't be on it, yeah, you might, maybe. But I think that he would keep him. And I think Varys would want to stay on it so he can keep furthering his goals. All right, here's another no-brainer. And that is Lord Commander of the Rainbow Guard. So he would completely replace the Kingsguard. I'm assuming that the remaining Kingsguards will probably be sent to the wall, except for the ones who fled, like the Hound, right? But he already has a Kingsguard. He put the Rainbow Guard together already. It's completely stacked. It's done. And it's going to also be the first female in a Kingsguard, which is really cool. Renly, pushing down barriers, right? I need to stop raising my voice. Ouch. Okay. No changes here. He was picked as Lord Commander of the Rainbow Guard, and that wouldn't change. He's there to protect his family and his boyfriend. So, yeah, like, Loras isn't going to go anywhere. Loras is, I don't know if stacking it so Tyrell heavy, because, like, he married Marjorie to keep the alliance, right? And then he makes Mace his hand to keep the alliance, and then he keeps Loras close to keep the alliance. 3 counting the queen, 3 Tyrells is too much. But that's Renly's mistake. He made the mistake before I put this together. It's not my fault. That's not my fault. But yeah, I think Loras would make a decent enough Lord Commander. He is brash and kind of hot-headed and violent. But yeah, who cares? All right. Master of Ships, probably the best Master of Ships in the available books. And that's going to, of course, be Paxter Redwyne. Another Reachman, yes. But this is a no-brainer. He is the most qualified person, probably outside of the Iron Fleet, which can't be trusted, so they're not qualified, right? Because one of the qualifications is trust, like, will you serve the king? But when it comes to having a big fleet, knowing how to use it, and also giving decent advice. I mean, depends if you think he's working for John Con or not, but giving decent advice. It's not like he's pretty good. Like, he's a really good pick. And I just don't see, just for the sake of putting too many Reachmen in, which his hand is already a Reachman, and his Lord Commander, he might go, all right, maybe I should put somebody else, but he is the best Master of Ships. So Renly, you're going to say you're making a mistake by making this almost too much in one area. You're right. But that mistake isn't made by me. I think that mistake would be made by Renly in not keeping the Vale happy, not keeping the Westerlands happy, especially right after, like, forcing Tywin into submission, who's not going to forget that and probably going to invade in like a week. Probably going to rebel pretty quickly. You should be trying to keep these people happy. I don't think Renly would do that. I think Renly would do exactly what I'm doing here. That's why I went with these. Okay. Though he really does need some non-Reachman, he needs to bring in Paxter for sure. Yeah, he is definitely the best choice. Hey, I finally got a non-Reachman, and I love this pick. So this is a little off the beaten path, but I love this pick. Master of Coin, Alexander Staedmon. So I made a short for Staedmon's that now came out a while ago. When this video comes out, it'll be a while ago, but it's only been like a week. And the video the short did, decent, but I got a lot of comments where people are like, hey, you didn't mention that the sigil is Misa Misa, is Azura High. It's a heart being pierced. And I'm like, damn it. I didn't catch that. I'm so dumb. I'm dumb, guys. I was just making jokes about how it looks like an emo record, and it looks like the first guy that made that sigil had a bad breakup in high school. It just looks like some love hurt stuff. I did not connect that it's a blade being tempered in a heart. You guys come to me for your lore, and I make that kind of mistake? Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that I didn't catch that. All right, finally, some not from the Reach, someone not from the Reach, someone from the Stormlands. Wait, who? Alexander would have been sworn to him after Stannis was crushed, so he would then flip to his side. Why did I pick him? Well, besides being a Stormlander and a fantastic sigil, well, his nickname is Penny Lover, and that's pretty much all we know about him. Dude has a reputation of a loving money and being rich, and that's a quality often looked for Master of Coin. Yeah, for some reason, everybody but, like, Jaehaerys just goes, who's rich? And then they grab that guy. Granted, Baelish wasn't picked for that reason, but John Aaron actually said, who's good with money? And besides John Aaron and Jaehaerys, no Master of Coin is really picked by, like, so who'd be good at it? It's a lot of times like, well, who loves money? And Alexander Penny Lover Staedmon, I think, is a great pick. I'm super down for that. All right, we only have one more, and I'm sure you guys know it. So it's Master of Laws. Who am I picking for Master of Laws? And it's another Reachman. Oh, no. But it's Randall friggin' Tarley. How do I not pick Randall Tarley here? Yeah, one more Reachman, but it's Randall friggin' Tarley. See, I forgot I even had that written there, and I just said it. He has to be on the council. He is a shoo-in for Master of Laws. Mace has the trio of his big supporters, Randall, Paxter, and Mathis Rowan. Randall is a perfect Master of Laws. Paxter is a perfect master of coin, or coin, ship. I wrote coin there. Perfect master of ships. And without a spot for Maester Rowan, he would either get named Castellan of Highgarden or just an advisory spot on the council, which he has done. He does do in the main timeline around this point. Once they bring in the Tyrells, Maester Rowan does just sit on the council. So Maester Rowan might just sit as an advisor on the council, or we do need a strong, very strong and trusted Castellan of Highgarden, because all the Tyrells, well, except for Willis, of course, is still there, and they might send back Garland, or you make him, or you send him over to Dragonstone, right? That's a really good spot too, especially if you're going to have Edric over there as Prince of Dragonstone. Maybe Maester Rowan will be a good Castellan of Dragonstone. You give him a seat of power, is what I'm saying, because he earned it. He earned it as much as Randall Tarley and Pax Redwyne as being kind of the biggest supporters of Mace and of Renly. I know I didn't talk about Randall too much here, but if you know Randall, you know he's pretty much a shoo-in for Master of Laws. He is one of the most trusted commanders and soldiers. And yeah, I know it's really Reachman-y. Like, besides Varys and the Penny Lover, like, those are the only non-Reachmen. And yep, I do think that that's a mistake that Renly would make. I don't see him making a unified ticket, if you will. There you guys go, though. That was my Renly Baratheon What If Small Council. What did you think? Did you enjoy it? What are your picks? Please tell me if they're different, but please be respectful, because, as I've said before, opinions are like assholes. That doesn't mean you have to be, right? So you can be respectful. I'll try to be respectful too. So, yeah. Or did I nail it? I mean, sometimes I'm like, ooh, I didn't nail it. And then people in the chat are like, you nailed it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm glad somebody agrees. All right. Thank you guys for watching. And yeah, do all that YouTube stuff. Click the like button. And yeah, peace.